Are you considering a 70.3 or half Ironman next season and you're not sure whether you'll be ready for the challenge? Well, this is the video for you because I, Coach Steve, as an Ironman U certified coach, I'm going to go through the following topics. What sort of ability do you need to have at the moment? What sort of training's involved? What sort of equipment do you need? How much it's going to cost you? And also, we'll talk about some beginner-friendly 70.3s if you think you're ready to hit that register button. So you pick the right race for you. We'll pick that up at the end. So let's get to it. So what should your starting swim, bike, run ability be? These are some rule of thumbs I work with people before I actually encourage them to start a full race program for a half Ironman. I would say that at bare minimum, you should be able to swim in a single session with rests around 1,400 meters in a pool. On the bike, you should be able to cycle comfortably without stopping for around 60 minutes. Running wise, 30 minutes of continuous running would be a good indicator that you have the kind of base fitness to start a 70.3 program. Now, if you don't have that level of fitness net, what I would recommend is you go and do a base or a maintenance plan that will allow you to build up to comfortably cover those distances before you start a full 70.3 plan and sort of really get into it. A power tip here is most people are most nervous about the swim because it's the most technical of all of our disciplines. I would recommend, if complete beginner and cannot swim a length of a pool, for example, get some coach swim lessons, join a master's swim group so you can get one-on-one poolside feedback, tell you what you're doing wrong, and that will really help your swim come on leaps and bounds. So how much training is involved and what amount of training would I have to do during a week? Okay, so on average, a 70.3 training week will be 7 hours. You will probably peak at around 10, 11 hours just before you start taper, as in before you rest up for the race. And that typically would look like 2 swims, 2 to 3 bikes, one of which would be a long bike, and 2 to 3 runs, one of which will be a long run. And at peak phase, you'll be doing a brick, which is where you run straight off the bike to get your legs used to making that transition. Okay, so you're still with me, so I haven't frightened you off. And so a polite request, if you're enjoying it and helping you, please smash subscribe and like for the video, because it helps me grow my channel and means I reach more cool athletes like you and help people achieve their goals. Thank you so much. But now onto the other part of the video. So race experience. This is important as a lot of people will try to take on a 70.3 or a half Ironman as their first ever triathlon. I don't agree with that. I don't think it's the right way to ease yourself into our sport. So if you haven't done a sprint distance race, which would be a 750-meter swim, 20K bike and a 5K run, or an Olympic distance race, which is a 1,500-meter swim, 40K bike, and a 10K run, I would strongly advise you get some of those race experiences beforehand. It means that you understand our triathlon is not just iron distance, but it's also there's lots of different race distances, and you pick up some invaluable open water swim experience, transition experience, and just annual racing experience. So if you haven't done those and you're hard set on this is the year for your 70.3 challenge, what I would recommend is taking a longer plan, aim for 70.3 at the end of the year, and you can bake in those a sprint and an Olympic distance as B or prep races. And therefore you will be 100% ready when you touch that start line. And a power tip is talk to your tri-mates or your training buddies to see what local races they recommend. You don't have to go far afield to actually do these. There'll be races on your doorstep you never even knew about. So make it easy logistically and really get into the triathlon community. You'll love it. Okay, so how much will training for a 70.3 cost you? And I'm going to talk a little bit about the must-have cost, the cost you can't avoid. So race entry fees, if you're going for an M.DOT or a branded Ironman race, you're going to be looking at between $300 to $400 for race entry fee alone, and that is non-refundable. So just bear that in mind. You can do kind of half distance with the local domestic race, and you'll end up paying a lot less money, as in maybe $100, but you won't have any of the razzmatazz. And in fairness to Ironman, it does a good job. It really does put on a show. So bear that in mind. Other things that you may need to bake into your cost in terms of if you're heading abroad, you need to work out your airport fees. Certain locations have higher cost of living, so check out the hotels. It can all add up. But a kind of cool option and a pro power tip would be to turn it into a racecation where you actually bring the family over, go to a cool venue like Venice, for example, or Mallorca, and then stay for a couple of days afterwards, because you're going to be absorbing that travel cost anyhow. And some other costs you may need to, which are nice to have, but you need to work into as well, are kind of, do you need a coach, a one-to-one coach? They can be quite expensive. Same time, at the other end of the spectrum, you can just use a free plan you find on the internet, or a Don Fink book. A mid-cost option is buying a plan of Training Peaks, which automatically uploads to your Garmin, syncs to Zwift, and all that sort of stuff, and it takes all the thinking out of it for you. If interested, it's something I sell, so you can check out in the plans and the links below, or email me any questions you might have to info@smartenduranceSolutions.com. But key thing to remember is an Ironman or 70.3 year doesn't have to be massively expensive if you don't want it to be. And we'll talk about that in the kind of equipment stage next. So what sort of equipment do you need to race this distance? Now, that's the great news about the equipment side of things. Whatever you've used to race any previous distance triathlons, they will be 100% adequate. If you've got a solid road bike, cleats, helmet, perfect. Do you have an indoor trainer, just a standard wind trainer or turbo? Perfect. Do you have a functioning wetsuit? Great. A Garmin or fitness wearable and a heart rate capability? Brilliant. You are good to go. Now, absolutely, a TT bike will make you faster. Absolutely, a smart trainer that syncs with Zwift, or a power meter to give you more dialed-in numbers will help. But these are nice to haves. You don't need to throw all the money in the world at this. And my power tip to guys is that you actually reward yourself with upgrades once you hit things. So if you complete all your base training, for example, and you don't miss any sort of sessions, you get yourself the latest Garmin. If you complete this distance and you feel, wow, loved it, want to do it again, then you upgrade to a TT bike, because it will make it faster. So make it cost effective. It's going to be it's going to take enough of your time, and hopefully you'll enjoy the journey. Speaking of which, if now we're going to talk about what races you could pick, or we haven't frightened you off. So if you actually there's the race option for 3 beginner-friendly options for Europe, 3 beginner-friendly options for the US, depending where you're coming from. And if that was useful, guys, please, again, subscribe, like, and come back and watch some other content. Really happy to help you on your journey. And if you're looking for a plan, info@smartenduranceSolutions.com. Have a great day.